Welcome to Final Play Sports, everybody. My name is Pete Lubar, and I'm here today to cover Big 12 basketball, Week 14. And before I do, I want to talk about some other happenings in the Big 12. If you weren't following, today, Shedeur Sanders dropped a new rap song as he expands his already enviable brand outside of football. The song is called Life, and it's about his life. And if I could understand any of it, I'd really probably learn something. But I couldn't understand a word. It's a rap song. I'm the wrong genre. My ears don't work correctly. And so I didn't understand much of it. But I know enough about music to know that Shedeur was flat, off key. And the song wasn't all that good. I didn't enjoy it. But I'm hoping his first season as a pro quarterback goes better than his first song. And I have to admire him for putting himself out there, kind of like what I'm doing. Of course, he's never going to make anyone forget Kendrick Lamar. And to be fair, I'm never going to make anyone forget Colin Cowherd. So we both got that going for us. So on to the Big 12. And the Big 12 is just entertaining. Let's just say that. It's got so much going on. The teams are so good. You've got so many good teams. And you've got unexpected upsets every week. And you've got mini runs from teams you don't expect to have runs from. And you've got teams competing for top-line seeds in the NCAA tournament. And you have teams right on the bubble. It is fascinating. So we're going to take you through what happened over the last 8 days. Houston has taken a one-game lead in the conference standings as they've now won 3 in a row. The last was at home against Baylor, so a good win. Got some big games coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Arizona has been the hottest team after winning 6 games in a row, but they lost to Kansas State. I would call it an upset, but I got to tell you what, Kansas State's playing great ball. Last 3 weeks, they've won 6 in a row. 4 over teams that were ranked in the top 25. Jerome Tang has his team playing ball. They may be a very tough Big 12 tournament team to get out. Maybe tough. Yeah. I think they're now going. I think when Lunardi puts out his thing tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Kansas State climbing into contention after not having been mentioned in weeks. They might be on the bubble. They're playing that good. So exciting about it. Even their losses. They lost to St. John's, top 10 team. They lost to Drake, 23-2. Liberty is the second best team in, I don't even know what conference that is, Conference USA. Their worst loss was to Wichita, which any other year would be respectable. It just doesn't happen to be this year. You can't help. Sometimes you schedule things and it doesn't work out. So, anyhow, Kansas State's playing great. Texas Tech survived a double overtime scare against ASU yesterday and remains in a tight race. They're 2 games back in 3rd place. Iowa State in 4th. Righted itself the last week. 2 wins this week after losing 3 straight. So, good for them. Kansas, 5th. Wins. They win at home, beat good teams at home, and they lose on the road to teams they probably shouldn't lose to. Being Kansas, I mean, this is Kansas we're talking about, right? One of the best teams historically in NCAA history. So, a little perplexing, this Kansas team this year. And then you have BYU, who I left them for dead 6 weeks ago. Then 3 weeks ago, they win 4 games, look great. Then they lose 2 games. And I think, they're out of it again. And they go to Morgantown and beat West Virginia. So, we'll see. They got 2 big games coming up this week. We'll see if they can do something with those. West Virginia, Cincinnati are both, top net kind of teams, but neither one can get out of the way. There's no way West Virginia should lose to BYU at home. Shouldn't happen, but it did. And Cincinnati's won a couple games to get back, but boy, for a while they were stinko. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. We got 3 weeks left of the season, 7 games. That's it. So it is time to put up or shut up. Realistically, if we look at the conference standings, I mentioned the top 5: Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech, Iowa State, and Kansas. You've got 3 teams that are tied for 6: BYU, Baylor, and Kansas State. Oh, Kansas State's now 7-6. And West Virginia and TCU are 6-7. And then you've got a couple 5-8 teams, Cincinnati and Utah. And then you've got UCF and Oklahoma State at 4-9. And Arizona State, unbelievably, because I think they're a pretty good team, or were early in the season. Maybe they just haven't progressed, but they're 3-10. And Colorado should be thinking about what they're going to do with their coach. Do you keep Tad Boyle another year? They weren't good this year. Let's face that. They're 0-13 right now. 7 games to go. I haven't looked at the schedule well enough to see if there's a winnable game left for them. But, 2 and whatever, or 3 and whatever, or 0 whatever is not good enough for the University of Colorado. They're spending a ton of money on NIL. And we've seen what a coaching change can do with Dion. And it wouldn't surprise me if they made that change. Thad's been good for CU, but they've never been great. They've been competitive. He's had lots of talent. I don't know about the talent this year, but there's quite a few NBA players that came to Thad's program over the last 10 years. And they were pretty good in the Pac-12, but never the best team. They were always 4th or 3rd or 8th or 7th. And quite frankly, it might be time for a change. We'll see. Big 12 announced a 16-team tournament schedule for the Big 12 tournament. So all 16 are in. I wondered whether that would be the case or if they might only take the top 12 or something like that. But the tournament starts on Tuesday, which is the 9th or 10th. I can't remember which. Teams 9 through 16 in the seedings will play on Tuesday. Which means teams like West Virginia, Cincinnati, TCU, who are in that 9 through 12 spot, 9 through 10, 9 through 11, would have to win 5 straight to win the conference tournament. And I've seen that. There's some opportunities for a couple of quad 1 and quad 2 wins as you win, but you have to win 5 times. That's pretty unrealistic in this conference. And considering you've got teams that will only have to play, 3 games to win. So 5 games in 5 nights is a backbreaker. I saw New Mexico do it last year in the Mountain West tournament. They were a 6 seed. That's the first time I've ever seen anyone do that. It's a hard road. So those teams have to improve their position over the next 7 games, but there's only 7 games left. So the way it works, 9 through 16 play on Tuesday. And then the winners of that group will go play the teams that are currently seeded 5 through 8. So 5 through 8 would play. And then the next day, those winners would then play the teams that are currently seeded 1 through 4, or will finally be seeded 1 through 4. So right now, if the tournament started today, Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech, and Iowa State would have two bye games, and they'd be well rested, and you would have to think that one of those 4 teams is going to win that tournament. Stranger things have happened. Can't count out Kansas. They're in 5th. They've got a lot of histories we talked about, but that's what's going on. So what happens over the next week? There are monster games on the schedule this next week, starting Saturday, with Houston at Arizona. So the 1 and 2 team, 1 game separating them, are playing at Arizona. Arizona's home court. It would be hard for me to pick a winner right now. I'll have to look at the spread. But if I was a betting man, I'd probably lean to Arizona. They'll probably be a 1.5 favorite. I might be wrong about that. I could go look, but I'll wait till the morning of and I'll take a look. Saturday, you also have West Virginia at Baylor. That could be an NCAA elimination game. Both teams are 9 seeds in Lunardi's latest poll. Tomorrow comes out a new one. West Virginia lost, so maybe they drop a seed. But either one of those teams loses another game, and maybe they're squarely on the bubble. So those teams, interestingly enough, are sort of moving their way towards the bottom of the NCAA tournament. You've got Kansas State, who's been red hot, playing at BYU, who's been pretty good. Just big win against West Virginia. But that could also be an NCAA elimination game. BYU is as close to the bubble as you can possibly be. They are, according to Lunardi, the last team in. 68 teams. BYU is 68. And they have an 11 seed right now, but that's how they do it. They'd have a play-in game at 11. There'd be 2 11s playing each other. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. So Monday, Arizona heads down to Baylor. So Baylor has a really tough game against West Virginia, which could be an NCAA elimination game. And then right away, they play against Arizona at home. And both of those could be winnable games for them, or they could both lose them. So very interesting there. Kansas State plays at BYU. Kansas plays at BYU on Tuesday. And so, once again, BYU has 2 bites at the apple. They beat Kansas State. They beat Kansas. They're probably moving into that, firmly in the field status. They lose one, they're probably right where they are. And if they lose both, they're probably out. And then finally, Cincinnati goes to West Virginia on Wednesday. And, I don't know who's going to win that game. I haven't figured out either one of those teams all year. I've personally lost more money betting on West Virginia and Cincinnati and lost like every time. Crazy. So, I mentioned Lunardi. 8 teams from the Big 12 right now. BYU, as I mentioned, squarely on the bubble, an 11 seed. Baylor, West Virginia, 9s. Kansas is a 4. I'm having a hard time seeing Kansas with the way I've seen them play the last few weeks as being one of the best 16 teams in the nation. I know that's where they're ranked. They have a lot of history to be ranked that way. But if you lose a game, win a game, lose a game, win a game, and you can't win on the road, you're not the 16th best team in the nation. Sorry. Because the 16th best team in the nation wins on the road as well. So we're going to have to see if Kansas stays a 4 seed. I think Lunardi's doing them a favor right now. They're probably more like a 6, a 5 or a 6. And we'll see how that goes. Iowa State's dropped down. They were a 1 seed at one point. They're a 3 seed now. Arizona, which wasn't even in the field 4 weeks ago, is now a 3 seed. Texas Tech has moved all the way up to a 3 seed. And Houston's a 2 seed. I think they were a 4 at one point. So they've moved quite a bit up. From a net rankings, conference doing great. You've got Houston with a number 3 ranking overall. Iowa State 7. Texas Tech, Arizona, and Kansas are 9, 10, and 11. So Big 12 with 5 teams in the top 11. That's pretty impressive. Not SEC impressive, but really good. And then you got Baylor at 26, BYU at 39, West Virginia at 43, and Cincinnati at 46. So theoretically, Cincinnati is, quote, good enough to be in the field. I just don't see the committee giving them a spot with their record in conference. They just haven't been good enough. So that's my update. I hope you enjoyed it. This edition had a lot of fun putting it together. And if you also enjoyed it, it would help me greatly if you would subscribe to my YouTube page. It costs you nothing, but it helps me out. And love to hear from you as well. If you want to reach out to me, my contact information follows this video. Hope you enjoyed this, and have a great day, everybody. Bye.